Time for another DraftPhysics.com video presentation. Some comments, I guess. So we do have a comment by physicist Michael. I guess I'll read that first. So I'll pause. Alright, back. Hope these videos are helpful. It's been busy with end of summer term and preparing for the fall term. So he's been busy, but he has time to respond to these comments, and he had time to even make the 2 hours worth of a preliminary video for the experiment. And yet 3 weeks later, it will be more than 3 weeks later anyway. But I should be able to get to the experiment next week. So he does a video about the mechanics that will be decided by the experiment before, he does the experiment, which really doesn't make much sense. Which formula you should choose and all this other stuff. And, well, anyway. The in-between terms week. Yeah, well, this stuff with terms, I don't know what it is, but yes, frankly, it's a very nice excuse anyway. Nothing nefarious with the delay, just life. Well, you could have just said, I'm get around to it the next month or two. That wasn't how it was left. It was left that, I got it all set up here, I just got to find a space and So, whatever. So we got to wait more time, and it's not looking like, in that time he's improved his understanding of what he needs to do or any of that kind of stuff. So who knows what we're going to get as an experiment, how useful it's going to be in terms of really teasing out the truth. Shit. Anyway, just disappointing. Back to the other comment. Alright, so this Dick Woodhead, whatever. What is this? You type this shit. This is like a Puro comment. You can't even capitalize your sentence. Explain to me how it makes sense to divide meters by seconds. Why should I have to explain to you the notation for velocity in physics? Did I invent their notation? No, I didn't do it. Why the fuck do I have to explain it to you? Why don't you type this rude slop on physicist Michael's video? Let a physicist explain to you why they use shit jargon. Fuck you. You can't. They have nothing to do with each other. Well, except it's the only way to point out what a velocity is you have to have a distance and an amount of time, or you can't know what a velocity is. So how would you do it, shithead? How would you denote a velocity? How would you put it into any kind of terms that could be understood by another human being without using distance and time? How exactly would you do it? So m divided by s is total nonsense. No, s squared is total nonsense. What the hell? But what a rubbish comment. I mean, it's just rubbish, you fucker. So do that some more, and yes, I'll just block you because I'm not. What the fuck did I do to you, fucker? Jesus, slobs. Anyway, alright, so let's get rid of this. And yes, I would say it should be a dot product. It should be some other notation. So when they want to say meters per second, so it's 9.8. Now Newton probably said 16 point something feet. That's probably what Newton did. Alright, but anyway, so we now have meters, and you know that you have to denote the second somehow, so they do it that way, but that implies division. But it is, in a sense, division, because all you're doing is saving this unit. That's all you want, is the unit designation. You just want to understand it's meters and seconds. And it doesn't really matter whether you multiply 9.8 meters times, 1 second, or you denote it by putting the 1 second down here. It won't matter, 1 times nothing. 1 divided into doesn't change anything, because this is all you want. Yes, the 9.8 in a standard unit. This is the standard unit. So you're just saying this could be per hour or per some other standard unit, but you have to use a standard unit. And so you just want the unit to travel with the thing. So again, like a dot product or like a vector line, yeah, they could denote it with some other way. They could say this is 9.8 meters, and they could have a seconds with an arrow. They could do it some other way to say you have to carry this with the seconds because the meters are in this unit, seconds. Or you have to have a standard where you already know in the formula everything has to be in seconds. And so all time designations will be in seconds. Then you could just use 9.8. And obviously what you're going to multiply it by is how many seconds. And you're not going to square the seconds, because we know the 9.8 is going to lead to 19.6 if I go 2 seconds. We know it's not going to be 40. Okay, so this squaring would be ridiculous. And again, it doesn't have anything to do with the fact that the units are seconds. That's the only reason why it's there, is to carry the units with the meters so you know those two are together. But that's it. And that's why it is a 1, because it's harmless. 1 second, harmless division. 1 second, harmless multiplication. Come on. Jeez. Squaring, going per second is just, again, it's it's so childish. I mean, it's such a baby mistake. I mean, it's just such a little bit of word nonsense. It's just goo. It's just such garbage as a idea. Per second. Anyway. Alright, so off to some other shitty comments. Alright, back. Okay, so there was a character from the past, of a certain name, RR. Okay, he's changed the name of his channel to this Posty-Mania. So just understand, this isn't some new person. This is this guy from way back, who believes in UFOs and believes he's invented an anti-gravity machine. Now, his anti-gravity machine appears to be a gyroscope. So even though I've explained how gyroscopes work, okay, and how they can create lift, only when they're connected through a bearing to a person, or a machine or a mechanism, the ground somewhere. They can only lift something if they're connected to something. But anyway, so that's who this guy is, okay? Lots of nutty theories, opines way beyond his capacity, blah, 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 blah. So just for FYI. Now, this is also a guy who was directly threatened me, all right, to expose my name, address, house, license plates, anything he can. So he's directly in the past made the explicit extortion, get off the internet or else I'm going to dox the fuck out of you. Alright, that was his previous comment. So just understand who the fuck this kook is. Alright, just recognize that you people are inciting these people. You're rewarding these people. You're playing with these people. Alright, people of this character. So anyway, so he wants Steven's email address. Okay, I might as well read it. I lost your email address, Steven. I have been trying to communicate with you with one of my experiments I conducted. It gave a positive result of anti-gravity. Again, it's a spinning disk. You can understand how, even holding a hard drive when it's on, you can feel, it's not anti-gravity. It's a bearing. Okay, and you're pushing the bearing into a spinning disk. If you push a bearing into a spinning disk, guess what? It moves. Okay. Sorry to post here, but there is no other way. The experiment was repeated many times, and the results were unexpected, and I could not believe the results myself. And so he's made videos about this. So he has to keep it all a secret because he's afraid the government's going to come and get him and all that kind of stuff, because he's, revealing the hidden technology. Blah, 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 blah. Conspiracy nut all the way through. All right. So then Brozo comment. So this gets to another topic that we can talk about. Okay, so I didn't check my email as often, Robert, having so much on my plate just lately, especially because I will certainly be happy to hear what you have to say or look at what you have to show. He won't show you anything, don't worry about it. I can't pretend to have ever had any interest in anti-gravity matters beyond perhaps seeing an odd documentary and just being mildly curious. There's documentaries on anti-gravity. I tend to think I have no useful opinion on these matters, so he doesn't think it's somehow connected to all this other stuff, that gravity isn't a fundamental force. Anyway, and just trust that if it were possible, it wouldn't involve me, seeing as I don't have any pet theories. So he has what are called pet theories about what gravity actually is caused by. So then he has to throw in this tripe. Unlike Gary, of course. Yeah, that's right. I think it's an interesting subject. Why the fuck does this stuff happen? So I was curious enough to look into it. And the answer is kind of obvious, frankly. It's a push universe. Yeah, not very complicated. Who claims to know it all? I claim to know a lot more than you, that's for sure. As if it were all obvious. Well, I think it is kind of obvious. It's a pretty bold thing it's doing, and it's a pretty simple thing it's doing, right? I mean, it's doing it by a standard function. There isn't too much to it, is there? Except for your fantasy that somehow it makes 4 times the energy when it only falls twice the speed. Yeah, except for your fantasies, it's pretty simple. Or like he was God's right-hand man. Well, obviously I wouldn't hang out with anything called a god, okay? I'd stab him in the fucking head. So I don't really play that. Okay, that's your silly idea. Okay, at the onset of the universe, LOL. So he thinks you have to be there at the onset of the universe to make simple deductions like water's wet. Oh, I didn't show up at the beginning of the universe, so I can't figure out that water's wet. Amazing. Off topic for a moment. From one spark to another, what do you think of Gary's claim? Now, I didn't make any bold claim. I just said, look, it's just like momentum and... let me just do that quickly. I've already made the previous argument that I'm, of the opinion that you can draw pretty close analogies between actually electricity and energy. The fact that watts and joules are the same thing, also makes it pretty big giveaway. And what you're really just saying is that the components of an electrical circuit in terms of the watts, okay, is created by volts and amps. Now, yes, an A is different than an M, okay, so maybe that's confusing you. But you could think of amperage as the mass involved in the electric circuit, right? How much mass is participating. So in a way, you could think of the A as an M. All right? And yes, it's just like velocity and mass equals joules, or energy. See? Oh, E, this would be an N, and G-Y, right? So there you go. This is just like this, and you need both components. You can't just increase one of them if you want to get 4x the output. You have to increase both of them. See? And that's all I was making, was that simple argument. That's stating that just doubling voltage quadruples wattage is just not accurate. So I made that bold statement, okay, that very bold statement, just saying, no, you can't really just say any voltage increase leads to blah, 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 because it isn't any voltage increase. So, back to the comment. God, I just hate these shitheads. Anyway, this is just such stupid nonsense. To make a whole big thing out of the fact that I was merely making the distinction that you have to increase both. Anyway. What do you think of Gary's claim that the only reason Ryan Gosling... So again, I didn't even watch Ryan Gosling's video, so this has nothing to do with Ryan Gosling's video. to get 4x the energy by doubling the voltage. So this is a lie that I reacted in any way to Gosling's claims. I just pointed out a simple truth, that if you're going to say in doubling the velocity quadruples the energy, that would not be accurate. Okay. Shit. Anyway, was because he also doubled the current. Right. How was he supposed to not double the current? Well, so you don't imagine that there's any circuitry where there's limits on the amperage, and therefore you can't double the amperage? I mean, even a regular resistor, as you increase the flow of electricity through the resistor, it gets hot and the resistance goes up. Okay, so clearly it's going to take something off of that quadrupling just from the limitations of the resistor alone, without altering the resistance. So so he wants me to answer this technical question about how in circuits there can be regulating circuits that force the system not to be able to increase the amount of amps going through the system. Okay, wouldn't you consider that cheating the experiment? So again, funny language. If he did, if he did the only thing I can think Goofy is implying he should have done. I didn't imply anything. I just said it's not right to say increasing to people who don't know. It could be implying something that shouldn't be implied, that all you have to do is increase voltage and you quadruple the power, because it doesn't happen that way. All right, surely that would be a bit like doing KE experiments in air, then doubling the mass but doing the experiment underwater. Well, it's almost the same as your filthy environment, but yes. The half mass went much farther than 1.4 the speed, so again, I don't even know what he's referring to there. But let's stick with the electrical circuit, since they like to hang out with each other and call each other a Sparky. Let's see. I just don't get how Goofy thinks he has a better handle on every aspect of physics. So again, you don't think it's possible that physics could make mistakes. Frankly, and they've obviously have made mistakes and they never fix them, like having the wrong assignment of plus and minus. And you don't think it's sort of important that they do fix those mistakes. Okay, yet display such ignorance. So what was my ignorant statement here? I think I'm making the more intelligent statement to say you really shouldn't imply that all you need to do is increase voltage and you quadruple power, because it doesn't work that way. And and a propensity to cheat and lie at every opportunity. So clearly I have the one been cheated and lied about. I've made a bunch of these 5-minute videos now. None of these turds have responded to any of that content in any way, debunked any of it, because they are despicable, lying cowards. Okay, so the post-mania. I don't know if I want to get to that, because I'll stick to an electrical subject since I'm here, and I haven't really done a 5-minute video on that subject, so I might as well throw it in here and give you a preview of a 5-minute video, because it is interesting subject. So physics, so the physics Brozo says is perfect and can't be improved, and nobody should try to improve it, and nobody should check its mistakes, and nobody should say a damn thing. Everybody should just shut the fuck up. And he doesn't believe math is good, so he isn't a shut up and calculate. He's a shut up and stick billiard balls up your ass. That's what he wants people to do all day, is just shove billiard balls up your ass. Okay, he has no interest in human beings being doing anything meaningful with their intelligence, but writing porn songs. Songs to watch porn by, that kind of thing. That's what we should all spend our time doing. So, in electricity, in the sparky stuff, there's this idea, okay, they have a way to produce these little negative charges, and they come up with this silly term called the drift velocity. Now, does Stephen Bro believe drift velocity is a real thing? Does he really think that the electricity is moving through the wire at whatever, 1 mile an hour. You know, it's even slower than that, right? It's like, well, it's yeah, I could just say 1 mile an hour. Okay, compared to 300,000 miles an hour for the speed of light. So instead of going 300,000 miles per hour, it's just going 1 mile per hour. The drift velocity, whatever the fuck use that would be, right? Now, as I've pointed out, what the drift velocity actually means is they take a section of the wire and they count how many total atoms there are, and that means how many total electrons. Okay, and then they say, well, I'm going to divide the amount of electricity, the voltage, into all of that, because I'm going to assume that every single atom in the wire is actually moving the electricity. So instead of understanding that the electricity is basically moving through the wire like a lightning bolt, it's just a conductor, just like the atmosphere is a conductor for the lightning. Right now, it'd be really stupid for somebody to say, let's take all the atoms of the entire volume, like a mile away from the lightning bolt, and we'll consider all of those atoms, and we'll consider it one giant conductor, and then we'll say the electricity is only going 1 mile an hour because we're going to divide its speed into all of those atoms and assume all of them are moving. When it's showing you, no, this is only the only ones moving. This little tiny thread through the atmosphere, those are the only ones doing anything. So when you have a high voltage, you don't use most of the conductor. Most of the conductor isn't doing any work. Only a tiny percentage, because you can do all the pushing of the volume, I mean the mass of the electrons, right, is what you're pushing with the voltage. So the voltage is how fast are you moving the electrons. And the fact is that you move the electrons you're affecting very fast, you know, 1/2 at least the speed of light, closer to 3/4 probably in most cases, sometimes really fast. And then you get into superconductors, because that's basically what superconductors can do, is they can make this a straight line. So essentially it's the speed of light. That means there's no delay in how you're creating your magnetic fields. But anyway, no substantial delay. But anyway, so again, they have this concept. They really believe in something called the drift velocity, when it can really be understood that, well, why do we put high voltage into wires? Well, because it increases the capacity of the wire. It means that we're not using a whole bunch of the atoms, and so they stay stable. They don't fall apart. They don't melt, because you're not vibrating all of the atoms. You're only fucking up this tiny little thread of them. Okay, and so high voltage means you're using less amperage. Amperage is the mass of the conductor, so you're using less and less. And the lower, so if I change that relationship and I make the voltage lower of the lightning bolt, you could imagine it as the lightning bolt getting thicker and thicker and thicker. Okay, so now it's using more and more of the atoms because you're thickening it. Now what you're really doing is creating a whole bunch of different lightning bolts, but it's the same thing as making it thicker. So you're affecting more and more of the atoms. And the effect is you're moving their electrons from one atom to another. You're pushing the electron from one atom here to another atom over here. You're pushing them, displacing them. So it's rather bold. And when you displace them, you're breaking the bonds between the atoms. So the atoms go from being rigidly tied to each other, right? Proton, electron, to having all those bonds broken. Okay, and now they're just sort of jiggling in free space. So you're essentially melting the conductor. So it really just says you don't want to melt your conductor, use a high voltage, because then you can send a lot of mass and high velocity. Okay, means you use very little conductor. Okay, high mass and small velocity means you use a lot of the conductor. That means a lot of the atoms are doing the work. It means you're knocking the whole thing to pieces, and it's going to melt a lot quicker. So I mean, you can do, probably, what is exactly, you can probably do 1,000,000 times. You can probably put 1,000,000 times more electricity through a wire if you increase the voltage. So the more you increase the voltage, 15,000 volts versus 15 volts, right? You'll get an outcome of, a little thin wire carrying all of that amperage, this gigantic amperage of, say you want to move, 3,000 kilowatts or something, and you do it through a tiny wire because the voltage is high and you're not using all of the atoms. So again, the drift velocity is a complete contrivance. It has absolutely nothing to do with anything actually measured. It's just one of their silly calculations. They went to the trouble to make a silly calculation of how many electrons are in the wire and how slow would they have to go if I had to push all of them. They actually think that every time you put a voltage in, you move every single atom in the conductor. Of course you don't move every single atom in the conductor. It's just a silly idea. I could do a tiny voltage with a tiny amperage. Why would I expect it to move every atom in the conductor? Silly. So anyway, so Brozel mocks this. Okay, this is mockable. Attempting to explain some idea in physics is mockable. It's something no one should do, because he will mock anyone who tries it, anybody who claims to have done it, and he'll only mock them if he doesn't like them. If he's buddies with the UFO nut, the anti-gravity UFO, who knows what else, God nut, then it's okay. He'll encourage them to talk all kinds of shit, make videos, do all kinds of shit, talk all kinds of shit on the internet. It's okay, because I like you. And if I don't like you, then I'll support people who will dox you. I'll do all kinds of shit, okay, against you. And my rhetoric will completely change. So if you're a criminal and you're a friend of mine, that is, you steal stuff from a store, and or you taste the food before and then put it back, you take a bite out of an apple, put it back on the shelf, you do that kind of crap, but you're my buddy, oh, it's all forgivable. Yeah. It's just so disgusting. So, frankly, yes, I'm not going to play videos by people of this low character, frankly. I mean, it's not my obligation to respond to people who can't do better than this horse shit. Alright, so I will now play. So anyway, I should do a 5-minute video on this drift velocity thing because it is just too silly. It's a silly concept, and it's just right there in front of you, Steven. You're a Sparky. You should be able to smell that it smells like crap, and it doesn't make much sense that the frickin' electricity is moving at some preposterously silly slow speed. You know better. So, why are you pretending physics has all these right answers? Why are you pretending that they haven't made egregious mistakes that are right in your face, for fuck's sake? And you're only pretending it because you have to defend your crusade against me? So you'll defend ideas you really don't think, truths you don't think are true, that somehow physics has done a great job. The science of physics has done a great job describing reality. You know fucking better. And you'll forget about that knowledge out of petty resentment. It just makes you such an asshole. Alright, so this is this posty-mania kook. And he is a mania, okay? So let's just read this shit. Alright, just so all these people know, you clearly know exactly what you're doing. You clearly know you're threatening me. You know that's what you're doing. Alright, it's not some error or some mistake you made. Okay, it's your malicious intent to do this very thing. All right. In dumb science's mind, he is always right. Well, it'd be stupid for me to know I was wrong and then do stuff. That would be really stupid, fucker. And we mere mortals. Well, no, you're mere dishonest cretins. Okay. Should believe everything he says. No, you should just make counter arguments. I'm not forcing you to believe anything, fuckhead. All right, I'm merely making my arguments, and your counter argument is to threaten me off the internet. Okay, you haven't made any counter reasoned arguments. How exactly is your anti-gravity machine different than a gyroscope? Would you want to just explain? All right. I am so glad Ian Gosling performed that experiment because it is infallible. I don't know, the experiment of something I didn't, that doesn't counter anything I didn't say, which was, yes, if you double the amperage and you double the voltage, you'll get 4 times the wattage. Duh. Okay. My words were in an electrical circuit. Yes, so what? There's all kinds of electrical circuits, and you can design them for 12 volts or design them for 24 volts or, 55 volts. You can do all kinds of different circuits. Okay, there is nothing about changing the resistance. There was nothing about not changing it either. All you said was twice the volts is 4 times the energy. That was what you said. All right, and that's bullshit. It's a bullshit statement because it clearly implies something that isn't true. That, like with your kinetic energy theory, you have the theory that all you have to do is increase the voltage. Look, the kinetic energy theory is saying all I have to do is double the velocity of something. I don't have to double its mass. I just double its velocity and I get 4 times the energy. That's the silly kinetic energy theory. I'm just making the parallel that, look, they're trying to do it to electricity now. Okay. I do, however, feel sorry for anyone that believes his nonsense. Believes what nonsense? That you have to increase both the amperage and the voltage to quadruple the wattage. I don't think that's nonsense. Okay, anyway. As they were wasting their time, whatever that is. I knew in advance he would deny the results. Deny what result did I deny? Okay, some more nonsense. As did he with the doubling of angular momentum. So again, I don't know exactly what you think angular momentum is, but it's completely unspecial. It's just regular momentum in a curved amount of space, but doesn't have any extra energy. Mass moving is just mass moving a distance. That's all there is. There's a mass moving a distance. That's the momentum. All right. Whatever doofus science deserves the dumbass of the Millennia Prize for his outstanding stupidity. So let's just understand, I've cut these arguments into 5-minute chunks, and they will not, honestly reply to any of those videos. Alright, I made a video years ago that he and his followers, so whatever this means, that means a couple of other people questioned what you did. Oh my God. Gave me so much crap. What crap did they give you except a counter argument? Did they threaten you? Do you have any evidence that they threatened you off the internet? Alright, about it, I took it down. So you chose to take down a video instead of just defending it. I studied that video in great detail and realized it was correct in my assertions. Well, then put it back up and make your argument and then defend your argument. Are you too much of a coward to defend your own theories? I mean, man, what a little douche. All right, douche science should just disappear. So let's understand that's his intent. I shouldn't be allowed to make videos. He should be allowed to talk about UFOs and government conspiracies, but I shouldn't be allowed to talk about physics. Okay. Off the internet for his own safety. So here he says it. So this is a guy who has threatened me personally. Okay. As in his own words, he has already been swatted twice by exactly the kind of character you are. You've demonstrated it. You made the overt threat that you will, do certain actions to attack my security, my personal security, if I don't get off the internet. All right, okay. It is only a matter of time before some unhinged person, there factually are people more unhinged than this kook, and all of these people know that. All these people know there are crazy people on the internet, and they're inciting them with this rhetoric. That somehow they have to go on a holy crusade against me because I'm attacking the sacred science. It really is pretty close to inquisitional. I mean, you can't get much closer to it. They are threatening me. All right. Unhinged person causes him irreversible damage. So what a funny kind of concept. Irreversible damage. Just very funny. Dick Science has nothing to fear from any of us. Yes, so this is the guy who made the direct threat, so let's understand. And he's now pretending he's not one of those crazies who makes direct threats. But there are vigilantes who would hurt him if they knew his past. So what is, again, there's no past to hurt me over. I've done nothing to apologize for in my life, so it was more nonsense. I haven't violated anything, okay, in any way whatsoever. Drivel Science has a right to voice his opinion, so that's what he says, except he extorted me off the internet. Yes. And will not, and I will not interfere with that either, so a big lie. Okay. Dork Science, in my humble opinion, is a whatever that is, malingering blunger. So he's this guy who's got an anti-gravity machine that he can't explain and he can't show because he has a conspiracy theory and thinks the government's going to come and get him. Okay, I'll publish it for you. I've told you that. I made that video. Give me the big secret, okay? And we'll sign a contract that I don't get to know. I don't get anything from your big secret. And I'll publish it because I'm not afraid of the fucking government, okay? I'm afraid of the government for other reasons. I'm not afraid they're going to come for me because I'm revealing the secret, sacred truth. Anyway, Bungler, who is living on taxes of the American people. Why don't you just say that to Brozo? Okay, I'm living on a system that you pay into. Okay, fuckhead, it's you pay into Social Security. That's all I get. Okay, listen, I'm just for the sake of argument here. I don't receive any other benefits. Science teaches us to be, I mean, if I told you what I actually get, it's amazingly meager what I have to live on. All right, science teaches us to be skeptical, but also be observant and truthful. Dopey science obeys none of these rules. So I'm not the one saying these dishonest stuff. You're saying the dishonest stuff. Okay, these personal attacks, this personal invasion of my personal life. Again, should I, do research on Brozo and detail his, financing? Is that a legitimate tactic on the internet, jackass? I mean, my disability is part of my life on the internet. It's not some grand secret. I have been blighted by an anxiety disorder my entire life, and it's been quite unpleasant. So go ahead and play your game with that, okay? But does it show you having any integrity? No, it doesn't show you have any integrity at all. It's none of your fucking business, and it's, frankly, a provably real condition that happens to people, and it's frankly quite limiting in the life I could have lived, fuckhead. So, again, it's just so disgusting that these are the arguments they will make in comment sections about a physics argument. This is what they do to a physics fucking argument. So they really don't deserve my attention at all. All right, and I'm just saying, Gosling can't do anything to stop the doxers. They won't do anything to clean this mess up. They won't up their game at all. So why the fuck should I reply to any of these motherfuckers? Because this is all they have. Okay, this Bar Lab, all of these losers. Okay, they can't make an argument. They can't respond to a 5 fucking minute video with some sort of rational explanation for why drift velocity is a real thing. Why don't you explain, Dispar, how drift velocity is a real thing? Fuck. Alright, so enough. Blah, blah, blah. Ooh, God, that was painful. Shouldn't have done that. Ooh. Alright. So I think that's all I wanted to get to for today. What I guess I will do is go to the, well, I guess I should probably make the 5-minute video on drift velocity, and then I can post that, and then I probably should go through the 5-minute videos and just do an indexing video for the 5-minute videos, and just point out how, wow, this isn't really much I'm asking from you pigs. I mean, you shitheads. To respond to a few videos. Not that big a deal. I mean, just 11 little 5-minute videos that cover a lot of little subjects, and so far nothing from these debunkers. Okay, so till the next time and such and so forth and whatnot. Blah 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 blah.